Welcome back to Small Screen Sagas. I'm your host, Nicole. Today I'll be talking about From Season 1, Episode 5, entitled Silhouettes. I really enjoyed this episode. Once again, we will go character by character, sort of, as far as the recap goes. Before we start, though, I just have a little disclaimer, just a little thing I want to throw out there, because I believe in Episode 3 or Episode 2, whenever, I mentioned that I want them to be more consistent with their extras, because you're in a small town and no one's leaving, no one's coming. So the extras in this case need to be consistent. This episode, I don't know how I missed it the first 3 times. It's my 4th time watching. I know you guys are tired of me hearing me saying my 4th time watching. But at the very beginning of the episode, a black lady comes out and she's like to Nathan, Sarah had a seizure. And I'm like, hold on. I have not seen her once before. Like, it was a dead giveaway. I'm like, I would have noticed any other black characters, you know? And for this black woman, I've never seen her before. I don't think we ever see her again. And it just goes back to what I mentioned as far as having the extras, keeping them consistent. You can't just bring an extra in, especially one that has a talking role, and think I won't notice that we never see them again. So it was like all in my face this week. So here we go. We're going to start off with Fatima's backstory, since that is also related to the title of the episode, Silhouettes. It was sad. She was having a good time. It was her birthday very many years ago. She's telling Julie about it. And some men come knocking on their door while her and her family are having the funnest time. They're laughing, they're joking. Her father just told a funny story. And they drag him out, and all she sees is his silhouette fall down. And she says, there's always going to be monsters in the world. So I know we keep saying, hey, there's monsters here, but like she said, there's monsters in the real world that look just like humans too. And then they kill and kidnap and rape and do all types of horrible stuff. So I like her using that comparison. Like, yeah, you're saying there's monsters here, but there's monsters where we came from. And I made a determination from that day on, I'll never let them steal my joy and never let them steal the happiness out of me. And this is important for later, but I think it was just, once again, goes to what an awesome character Fatima is. She's always looking for the positive. She's willing to put herself out there and tell such a personal story to Julie and helping her feel better. So I really like that conversation, and I really like the Brindles, and that does look like they're having a fun time, like making the best out of a horrible situation. On the other hand, we have Jade, who is not making the best out of a horrible situation. He's on a mission. He's actually pissed because he finds a bar. He sees everyone sitting there drinking gross potato vodka. Tom is like, hey, what else can people do but drink? You know, when something horrible happens, they usually drink. So what can we do? But Jade is like, no, why are you guys sitting here like everything's normal? You should be out here trying to figure out how to get home. And instead, it seems like you guys just accepted this is your fate. But it kind of goes back to that conversation Kenny already had with Jade. Like, this is their fate. This is their situation. So they either can live with it and try to make the best of it, or they can drive themselves crazy on a mission over and over. And maybe they all did that anyways, like how the Matthews family, they're questioning stuff. They're writing questions on the walls, trying to figure out what's going on. Jade is on his own mission. Maybe everyone has to get through that those first month or 2 that they're there. This is Jade's point, and he's on a mission to figure out how to get them out of here. And I do like the conversation that him and Tom had, like, is this Scrooginger's cat or whatever? And they were doing some whole philosophical conversation, like if the people outside were, we're the town's a box, we're the people in the box, or the cat in the box. If you can broadcast, then at least everyone will know that, hey, they might not know where we are, but they know that we're still alive. So we'll see where that goes. Now at the Matthew house, Jim gets some pens and he's like, let's just go ahead and write on the walls, and let's write all the questions we have about this place and jot them down. And some of those questions are, where are we? How did we get here? But then he also asked about the talisman. How were they made? Can we make more? How many of them are there? What else do they protect us from? Do they all have something in common? At the end, Tabitha writes down, "Did we survive the crash?" Because now she's starting to think maybe this is like hell and we died in that crash after all. My question on the wall would be, when are we? Like, is this current time? I don't know why I'm so obsessed with that. There is no data to show that the time, if it's 2023 there in the show, that it's 2023 in the real world. I don't know why I feel like time is off. Maybe because of something they said, and it might have just been a mistake on the show based on something that was said in season 2. Once we get to season 2, I'll tell you guys why I'm honing in on if the time is aligned, but it could have just been an error on the writer's part of including something they said, or I could have just misunderstood it. So we'll see when we get there. But they're asking these questions. This is their way of coping. So Jade's way is he's on a mission. He's doing that, and Jim and his family, they're writing these questions and hoping as they write these questions, maybe answers will come to them the more they write out and think it out. And he's an engineer, so of course his brain is working that way. All right, let's talk about Boyd. So we mentioned Boyd, I believe, in last episode, or maybe, when he was burying Frank, and now all the episodes are starting to run in together since I'm watching them podcasting right away. But his hand, he was having some pain in his hand, and he's starting to get nervous about it. He goes to his wife's grave, so we find out his wife did die in this town. He's able to go to her grave. So that's giving us a little bit more detail on his situation based on that conversation him and Father Gottry had, and saying that, hey, this is too big of a price to pay. So we know his wife died in this town. But he's talking to her grave and he's saying, I have a really big idea. If it works out, it can get everyone out. But if it doesn't work out, then I screwed everyone up. So he's like, I need a sign to know if I should do this big thing. And we don't know what this big thing is yet. And he also tells her about his hand, but he says, I know what it's from. I know it's from my dad. And as he does bring it up to Christy earlier, he says, hey, can this town, you think, have a physical effect on people? And he brings up Ethan's seizures, Sarah's seizure, and now he's thinking his hand. And Christy goes, what do you mean? But he drops it. He goes, no, he knows what it is. So this must be some type of medical condition that is genetic, that can carry on from generation to generation, which makes me wonder if he'll have to have a conversation with Ellis. Like if his dad had it and then he has it, didn't skip a generation. So could this affect Ellis as well later on in his future? But this whole time he's looking for a sign. He wants a sign to tell him it's okay to take this big swing. And finally, at the end of the episode, while he's sitting there talking to Christy, a song comes on by Lyle Lovett saying, If I Had a Boat. We don't know the significance of this yet, but obviously it means something to Boyd. We did see earlier in the season, he did have like a key that could be a boat key. However, I don't know if that's just in my mind because I know what's going to happen without trying to spoil it. So it's very hard to pod when you already know what happens. And if this is just a genuine theory or if it's a theory because I know what happened. So I won't say more than that. But that song clearly was a sign for him to go ahead and take this big swing on trying to get everyone out. Then, of course, the big storyline this episode was everything with Sara, Nathan, her brother. So we see Nathan, he's trying to come visit her at the hospital. She turns him away. She goes, nope, tell him I'm asleep. She's trying to avoid him. And then by the next morning, I believe it was, Nathan's looking at Sarah's bloody dress at home. And he's like, her story's not adding up. How did the dress get bloody if all you did was leave a door open? So he knows there's something more there. And he's feeling conflicted because he, of course, has his loyalty and ties to his sister. But then at the same time, he has an obligation to keep the community himself safe. And if his sister is a danger to not only herself and others, then it is his responsibility to say something. That's definitely not I promise to keep your secret a secret type of situation. This is when you do open up. So he goes and finds Father Khatri, asks like how confessions work. And he's thinking like maybe if my sister confesses, he can like, take away her sins or whatever. But No, Father Khatri's like, let's find your sister immediately. You should have told me this immediately. And of course, that leads up to the events that take place at the barn with Sara and Ethan and Tabitha, where, Sara lures Tabitha into that hiding place, which I don't even know if that was really a genuine former hiding place or not. But she lures her there, locks her in, and she's about to kill Ethan. Which, this girl, she's over here, she tried to give him a pep talk just like she did before she killed Toby. Like, it's not your fault. Ethan's a little boy. He doesn't want to hear your nonsense that you're going to spill. Like, oh, this is why you're going to be a hero, just like in my books. If you don't get out, Sara, the audacity, once again, stop it. No one wants to hear that. No one wants to go home that bad to where a little kid had to die. Like, no, that's not okay. And if you thought everyone would be okay with just one bad act of happening, of a little boy dying and everyone going home, you would have told everyone about it. You would have said, hey, everyone, unfortunately, Ethan has to die, but once he dies, we can all go home. And the reason why she didn't do that is because she knows it's insane. No one would be okay with it. But just as she's about to kill Ethan, her brother comes, and during that struggle for him to stop her, his neck or throat gets slashed and he dies. So it kind of does go back to what those voices in her head saying, like, if you don't do this, then your brother will die. And that's my apologies, because that might be said later on, but that's the reason she's saying I had to do it or my brother would die. That might be a spoiler for another future episode, but she Nathan dies, and she runs off into the woods. So when Jim is pissed off and he's talking to Boyd and saying, like, you guys said we're a family, you look out for each other, that's bullshit, what are you guys gonna do to her? And Boyd was like, well, if she comes back before dark, we'll handle it. And if she doesn't come back before dark, then it's handled, implying like the monsters will get her. So it's an unfortunate ending to Nathan. We didn't really get to know his character other than that he was Sara's brother, and he did seem loyal to her, and he did seem like he wanted to help her and do the right thing. Unfortunately, he did not make it. And it makes you wonder a little bit more about their history, because Sara does tell Christy that things were bad for her back at home before they got here. And she did have a person that was not good for her either. So I do wonder if the person that was not good for her came with them and died, or if it was just her and her brother that came. And she does mention to Ethan that they've only been here for a few months. So we got a little bit more background on her brother. It's still not enough to say why the monsters or why the town chose her to do these acts, or to try to convince to do these acts, but hopefully we'll find out more soon. And then last thing I'll mention is Ethan's leg healing quite fast. At least Tabitha thinks it's healing fast, so we'll see what that's about. Does Ethan have a special connection to this place? And as he even mentions, hey, this place is special, I think. I know it hurts people, but maybe it can help people as well. Which got me thinking about with Sara talking about how things were bad for her at home. We know the Boyds, things were not good for them right now at home. Not the Boyds, the Matthews. Things were not good for them with their whole family dynamic and the divorce, looming divorce coming and everything like that. Now, not necessarily all the characters had bad stuff going back for them at home. So far, we know some of them did. It does make me wonder, do they have something in common, in line with one of those questions that Jim had on the wall? And what does this mean? In relation to Lost, it does have a lot of feelings of Lost, and some of those connections that, if you guys did watch the TV show Lost, there was a lot of little connections here and there that sort of tied the different passengers together, whether they met directly or had near misses or was in the same place at the same time but did not actually connect. So I wonder, with this show having people that worked on Lost and is working on this show, how much of those connections we'll see or similarities we'll see from Lost on this show. Because so far I've already seen a lot of similarities, mainly the music. When they play some of the music, I'm like, that sounds like a Lost music, but we'll see if it means anything. This was a decent episode. I can't remember exactly what happens next, so I'm just excited to go on and move on to the next episode and see see what happens there. So once again, if you guys want to be part of the podcast, hit me up, host@theverdictsin.com. That's HOST @theverdictsin. Follow me on Facebook, facebook.com/verdictsin, Twitter @theverdictsin. You can also follow my personal Twitter. I don't really tweet that much personally though. Nicole Clark, or @Nicole Clark on Twitter. So thank you so much, and I'll be back shortly with the next episode.